So I was at Scotia again, and day 6 lessons from Necker Island. And I thought this is going to be a little one because we had an amazing session with Richard Branson and 30 other incredible, maybe 25 other incredible business people from around the world. But I just want to read you just some of the notes that I took, and I thought that would be pretty appropriate. I'm actually doing this from my bedroom. You can see there's my outdoor shower. You can see Richard Branson's house is in the background there, the temple. And then also you can just kind of see into my room there all the way through. So it's pretty spectacular. But I think I'll stand over here where you can see the kites behind me and look at the incredible scenery while I do this. So these are some of the things that Richard taught me today. We did film some of it, but just some of my notes was that he's been out of day-to-day running of businesses for 20 years, which I found pretty interesting. He's a big believer in delegation. He doesn't second guess people. He lets them make mistakes. He bites his tongue when they make mistakes. And it's his fault if the right people are not in the right place. And so his role is to get the right people in the right place. And then he says basically, in terms of when you're wanting to get stuff started, accountants and consultants will always get it wrong. 99% of people will always tell you why it won't work, and that's why we are entrepreneurs. But good leader is a good listener. They ask lots of questions, and he went into detail. He's obviously at the time of spending time with the elders, and he says the elders' number one principle that they looked at was that listening is the most important skill. So fascinating. Some of the best leaders in the entire planet, and the number one thing that they believe is important is actually listening in terms of where we are. And their belief was also that you could learn something from everybody. We spoke a lot about intuition. And he spoke that, the more experience you get, the better your intuition gets. But he says ultimately when it comes to business, can you go into it? Can you create something that people want? Can you solve a problem? And can you be a market leader? And ultimately that intuition is very, very important. He says he loves to play. He loves to create things. But the most important thing, more money must come in than must go out, so that he can get on to his next project. And something I found astounding is that every single year, his family, his son and his daughter, Holly and Sam, do something physical, some big physical challenge, like kite surfing across the English Channel or climbing to Atapucha or something like that. And they've got to train and spend time together, and every year they set themselves a goal. He said, because I've delegated so well, I can do what I need to do. Which means that he can firefight, he can spend time strategizing, he can spend time with his family, with his children. So it was absolutely amazing. He says he spends a lot of his time praising people. He says people tend to criticize too much, and he really goes out and spends time praising people. He says if you're a good listener, everyone can be a mentor. So someone asked about being mentors and getting a good mentor, and it's a fascinating statement. If you're a good listener, anyone can be your mentor. He obviously, a lot of people know about him saying you've got to write stuff down, but you've got to write everything down so that you can go back and look at it. And that's why, he says journaling is so important. And one of the last really important things that I thought was that business won't change the world. It's the entrepreneurs that are driving those businesses that will change the world. Then we went into a second session where one of the guys stood up and said, listen, everything you've done up until now is the start of the new you. It's like research and development for the greatest product yet to come. And it all starts with creating a great day. Something I've been very fortunate to do after reading The One Thing. Every single successful people, and I'm talking people with hundreds of millions of dollars, including billionaires, all of them have a ritual. Richard Branson wakes up at 5 a.m. He does his emails. He has meetings in England. He goes to play tennis every single day at 7 a.m. He plays tennis for about an hour. If the wind is good, he goes for a kite surf. He joins us for lunch. He then he always has fun in the afternoon. He then he plays tennis at 6 o'clock every evening. He then, last night he was kite surfing at nearly 7 o'clock, and then he always joins us for dinner. And so, there's lots of fun in that, and certainly specific gaps that he's created in terms of the day. But it's all about movement, meditating, mindfulness, creating culture. I saw some great things, but I'll share with you on the webinar that we're going to do, because I can't show you. I think one of the things that's fascinating is giving yourself a break, allowing yourself time to really connect with yourself. That's why they were talking about the meditation and doing stuff on your own. And one of the guys said, joy is our natural GPS inside us, to know whether we got joy. Roger shared that most of us are like a planet, and we're going round and round around the sun, and then like even our family and our friends might be moons that are going round and around us, and it's all just chaos. Things are just going everywhere, and no one knows what the hell's going on. And ultimately what your focus has got to be, and the reason you've got to spend time with yourself is that you've got to be the sun. You've got to know exactly who you are. You've got to know, you've got to be strong in the middle. You've got to create a business that serves you. You are not the business serves you. And then ultimately everything can orbit around you in terms of what you would be. Never make decisions on emotion. Show up and be your best self. I mean, that's something that came through over and over and over again. I mean, I did that thing on how to get to Necker. I mean, Matt Pryor's here. He's a 37-year-old multi-million dollar businessman. And he showed us his journaling book and his goals. And I mean, everyone talks about it, but I mean, just the caliber and the detail was absolutely amazing. And it all comes down to this morning ritual that both Eben Pagan and Jeff spoke so much about, Jeff Walker, as to what amazing difference it's made in terms of their day and how they create themselves to be, have a super intentional day. And then like Matt's so funny, but he like screams and shouts in the shower and he goes, I'm going to be the best Matt Pat. And he's got all his own rituals, but the bottom line is he arrives juiced, pumped. I've never seen someone have so much fun at everything that he does and come so pumped. Life is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. So life is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. I thought that was fantastic, but it all starts with feeding yourself. It all starts with creating that sun, and that's why the Sabbath is so important. And one of the guys, he wasn't Jewish, but he was saying, he reckons the Jewish's most valuable secret weapon is that from Friday evening to Saturday evening, they're not allowed to work, they're not allowed to garden, they're not allowed to do anything, and they actually just have chill out time with their family. And he says he does that, and that's what adds so much value. And then, one of the guys spoke about the mind and how the mind is our most valuable weapon that we literally do, and we need to train our minds to be stronger. And he literally knows all his bank details. He knows he's got 18 different bank accounts. He knows all his brother's bank accounts. He knows all his ID numbers, social security numbers. He doesn't use a calculator, and he's constantly playing games to train his mind. Little things, but he brushes his teeth with his right hand one day and his left hand the other day, just to work the muscle of the mind, because he says it's his greatest asset and he wants to keep it strong. And then everyone was talking about how journaling was so important, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. One of the guys says business is a series of sprints. It's not a marathon actually, it's a series of sprints, and you've got to go hard and then take breaks, go hard and then take breaks. And I think that's kind of what I've been doing this week. And if you don't have it, you don't need it. So that's talking about accumulating all these assets and things. Often they say if you don't have it, you don't need it, or maybe you don't need it now. The universe is telling you that there's a reason to wait. What we have is because of who we have become. That's fascinating. I wrote that down. So what we have in life is because of who we've become. You want more, you've got to become more. Just think about that. And then the last one that I wrote down, but I left it for last because I think it's the best. Be determined enough to make things happen. Be graceful enough to let them happen. And be wise enough to know the difference. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I need to go off and go ziplining because there's so much fun on this place. Last night we, literally, I told you already, we table dive and stuff, but today we're going to go ziplining from the main house down to the beach to have lunch. Then we're drinking volleyball, and then we got a great Gatsby party this evening. And so we've done the hard work this morning, and now it's time to have fun. But I think that is so amazing. Be determined enough to make, let me get my notes out again because I don't want to get it wrong. Be determined enough to make things happen. Be graceful enough to let things happen, and be wise enough to know the difference. What a wonderful saying that I'm clearly going to take and really implement in my life. So I hope you enjoyed this daily update. Cheers.